Where you live. 5 News starts with breaking news.
And that breaking news: after 8 seasons with the Hogs, women's basketball coach Mike Neighbors says he is stepping down from that role. Thanks for joining us. I'm Darren Bobb. 5 News Sports Director Alex Stewart in the studio now. And well, the search for a new head coach actually starts right now.
Yeah, that's right, Darren. It is one of the worst things about the sports world, and that is the changing of the guard, whether it's by their own volition or the programs. Now, as you mentioned, it was Neighbors who made the decision to step down, a choice that comes after a 10-22 season and a first-round exit in the SEC tournament. Neighbors, a Greenwood native, was hired ahead of the 2017 season, and in his 8 years on the Hill, he led the team to a 148-114 record, 2 NCAA tournament appearances, and 2 trips to the WNIT, but perhaps his biggest impact came off the court, as he was regarded as one of the most well-liked and respected coaches at the university, clearly having a massive impact on just about every single player that he coached. Now, when decisions like this happen from well-liked figures such as Neighbors, a lot of times people are left searching for reasons. However, as of now, he has not provided one, though he did say in a statement, quote, "The opportunity to coach the Hogs fulfilled a lifelong dream. I also acknowledged that there would be a time when that dream would end, and until then, I pledge to do my best to make my family, my team, and my home state of Arkansas proud." Razorback Athletic Director Hunter Yurachek added on, saying that he is deeply appreciative of Neighbors' work and that the team says, quote, "There is no questioning his love and passion for this university as well as this state." Also adding that the search for a new head coach is already underway, a search that we will, of course, update you on as information becomes available. However, there is another development we're following in the athletic department today, and that is that the Razorbacks are hiring Boston Celtics Director of Scouting Remy Cofield as their general manager. According to a report by John Rothstein, Cofield will be leaving the NBA to take this position in athletics, where he will help with recruiting and evaluating players in this new NIL era we're all trying to navigate. This news comes just a few days after Sam Pittman said he's expecting a hire sooner rather than later, and I guess he was not kidding. Outside of his current position as Director of Scouting for Boston, Cofield has also spent time as a college scout for the Celtics, as well as the GM for the Maine Red Claws basketball team. Once again, this is a developing story, so as we get more information in, we'll of course pass it along to you. But Darren, just a crazy day for Arkansas athletics. And oh, by the way, we still have games to play later today. Just insane.
Still have some baseball to talk about. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. All right, Alex, thanks. Also breaking at 4, employees at Northwest Medical Center in Springdale had to be evacuated after a dumpster caught fire near the building this afternoon. According to the Springdale Fire Department, the fire began in a roll-off dumpster near some construction at the hospital. They say smoke got into the soffit, which led to the evacuation of part of the building. They say the fire is now under control and there were no injuries. Let's talk about the weather now as the chance for storms return this week. Scott, it is gorgeous out there today, but we do have to talk about the chance of rain tomorrow and maybe even some worse by Friday.
That's right. I've got 2 distinct systems out there. I'll tell you, though, Darren, I'm feeling a little bit better about one of them, which is some good news for us. First, let's get a check of what's happening out there right now. Another mild, dare I say warm afternoon. Upper 70s, low 80s. Most of us have been in the 80s today, although we've dropped down to 79 currently in Fayetteville. 78 your temperature in Bentonville. 81 currently in Fort Smith. Boonville reporting to us a temperature of 82 degrees. We're at 79 comfortably in Greenwood and Springdale. Now, these numbers are going to be dropping off over the next few hours. Despite that, still going to be a pleasant evening all across northwest Arkansas. Sunshine continues until sunsets a little after 7 o'clock. Once that happens, we'll fall into the 60s, well on our way down into the upper 40s, low 50s before we turn things around once more tomorrow. Another mild day tomorrow, despite that chance of rain and thunderstorms in the River Valley. Clear skies as well. Winds staying breezy this evening out of the south. Here's the severe weather risk for tomorrow. You'll notice a couple of changes. Number one, we now have been upgraded to a level 2. That's out of a 5, so we're still somewhat on the lower end for a good chunk of the River Valley. And that level 1 extended a little bit further towards the north. We'll break down what you can expect, when you can expect, plus the latest on that second round later in the week here in just a few.
All right, Scott, thanks. Another roller coaster day on Wall Street as the markets react to the president's plan to impose more tariffs on Canada. At one point, the Dow was down more than 700 points today. It has recovered down to 478 points by the end of trading.
Stocks fell further at the start of trading Tuesday following Monday's sell-off, Wall Street's worst day so far this year.
On again, off again tariffs, retaliations, cuts at the government, and it is making people feel concerned enough that we could see the economy slow down.
We'll get to more of the stock market coming up on your 5 News at 5. U.S. farmers and grocers are bracing for tariffs to take effect tomorrow on Canadian steel and aluminum. And just today, President increased tariffs from 25% to 50%. It comes as Canada pauses its retaliatory tax on electricity exports. President has touted fentanyl smuggling and Canada's high taxes on dairy imports from the U.S. as reasons behind this tariff. A former West Fork police officer now accepting his decertification after being found not guilty of negligent homicide. Last year, a jury acquitted Christopher Cordero after a deadly traffic stop that occurred almost 2 years prior. According to the Arkansas Commission on Law Enforcement Standards, Cordero waived his decertification hearing, and they voted unanimously to decertify him. A Washington County judge has set a trial date for next year in the civil case against Dr. Brian Hyatt, a Rogers psychiatrist facing more than 100 lawsuits. Former patients accuse him of coercion, abuse, and holding them against their will at Northwest Medical's behavioral unit in Springdale to fraudulently collect Medicare funds. Judge today granted the plaintiff's request for an August or September trial date next year. Attorneys from both sides told the judge they will work to figure out an exact date that works for both parties. Trump administration says it has the authority now to deport a green card holder due to his involvement in last year's protests against the war in Gaza. As Jared Hill reports, it's ignited protests all around the country.
The White House says the Department of Homeland Security will be arresting more individuals in connection with last year's protests around the war in Gaza.
They have been using intelligence to identify individuals on our nation's colleges and universities, on our college campuses, who have engaged in such behavior and activity, and especially illegal activity. And so I don't have a readout on how many arrests will come, but I do know that DHS is actively working on it.
On Saturday, federal agents arrested Mahmoud Khalil, a Columbia University graduate and green card holder who helped organize pro-Palestinian protests on campus.
This is a movement, an anti-war movement.
Khalil's attorneys call this an attack on free speech.
Mr. Khalil was never accused of a crime. What we have is a case where the government is punishing someone for saying stuff that the government doesn't like.
The White House says Columbia has been given the names of other protesters, but administrators are refusing to help. Columbia has not commented on that claim.
And we expect all America's colleges and universities to comply with this administration's policy.
Federal officials were preparing to deport Khalil until a judge temporarily blocked the order. The 30-year-old was instead sent to a detention center in Louisiana and will not attend tomorrow's court hearing in New York. Jared Hill, CBS News, New York.
Right now, Ukraine has agreed to an immediate 30-day ceasefire as high-stakes talks underway in Saudi Arabia. That's only if Russia accepts that plan. It means the Trump administration will immediately lift its suspension of military aid to Ukraine and its intelligence sharing. The announcement comes a week after the measures were imposed to push Ukrainian President Zelensky to enter talks to end the war with invading Russian forces. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the U.S. will present the ceasefire offer to the Kremlin.
All right, let's get a check of traffic out there. Happy to report we are free of any accidents. Nothing really unusual out there. Travel times are up to speed all across Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. A live look along the I-40 bridge over the Arkansas River shows a little bit of volume out there. Not much. We'll have a track of your forecast here coming up in just a few minutes.
New at 4, big changes are happening to the way fans at Arvest Ballpark pay. The Northwest Arkansas Naturals going cashless. Means food, merchandise, and parking will all be card or digital payment only. The ballpark hopes this will enhance experiences and plans to add more payment devices across the ballpark. One area still taking cash payments, and that's the ticket office. The Naturals home opener, by the way, April 8th against the Frisco Rough Riders. Speaking of Arvest Ballpark, tonight is the first ever Arvest Classic between the Springdale and Rogers Heritage Baseball programs. 5 News sports reporter Robin Hearn is out at Arvest ahead of the game. Such an exciting day for both of these programs.
Yeah, Darren, it's not every day that a student athlete gets the chance to play on a major ballpark that's seen the likes of some good guys like Bobby Wood Jr., Salvador Perez, just to name a few. But regardless of that, like you said, it's going to be a fun day. The weather is perfect, and the community is coming out for a great event that's going to help both of these programs. From the field to the locker rooms to the stands, this has the feel of what baseball is about. Now, coming into this matchup, Heritage took down Springdale yesterday in their first meeting of the season. But now it's time to put that behind them and hope that some pro ball magic will make this an exciting one to watch. Now, for the coaches, they're just trying to prepare their kids for the game and treat this one like it's a normal game despite the location.
Treat the game the same as it is. Obviously, different games, there's always different noise, and we just try to focus on the actual game and less about everything else. Want them to enjoy it, obviously, but whenever they're in between the lines, really want the game to still be the same.
Well, I think that it's like anything, right? It's a conference game that has big implications. So just making sure that they understand that the bases are still the same part. They're same, mileage apart. They're 90 feet and the mound's 60 feet. And yeah, it's a different backdrop and all the things, but it's still the game. We're playing that.
Doors open at 5:30 and first pitch is scheduled for 6 p.m. We'll have a recap of the game tonight at 10. For now, at Arvest Ballpark, Robin Hearn, 5 News Sports.
All right.